The views and opinions expressed on this show are that of the host and guest. They do not reflect the views and opinions of our station and affiliates. Enjoy the Big A Talk Show on Google Podcast and Spotify.
What's going on, people? It's your man, Big A, and on today's talk show, we're going to talk man to man. All right? Now, a lot of cats don't like to do it, but I think it's important that we at least touch on it. We're going to talk about that meat. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about keeping it hard, the wood. I'm talking about how to keep it brick, right? So we talking about sex and the male sexual health. Nowadays, and I got this through a comment, a lot of cats is dealing with ED. And we know this term, we call this erectile dysfunction, right? Where cats is just having issues keeping their meat hard. Let's just talk openly about it. So the first thing that really affects guys and the health of men is cardiovascular health. And we is talking about like your heart and the way the blood moves through your system, right? Cardiovascular health. This is directly related to cats having issues with ED, meaning think about when you're getting busy and your breathing patterns get all thrown off. You understand? This is affecting your ability to maintain hardness. The next thing, and this is especially true in the Black community, a lot of cats don't want to give it up, but if you pass 35, let me tell you something, diabetes will directly affect your ability to keep it hard. Think you're keeping it hard, but I need to tell you, you ain't keeping it hard because diabetes can affect the hardness, the stiffness, the wood, right? And we're going to explain how diabetes works and how it affects your body. The next thing, and a lot of people, understand this, especially if you're already being diagnosed with certain health conditions, is that your medications are regulatory items that go into your system, but as a result, they can affect things like your blood flow. They can also affect your mood, right? Think about if you're taking antidepressants and things like that. Well, not only are they prescribed to affect or treat the ailment, but they can have adverse effects overall on your body. And then lastly, it's psychological. And I'm going to really talk about the psychological aspect of it because I believe that is a major component to why a lot of men, especially younger men, are experiencing ED. So let's talk about the cardiovascular health, right? Now, I used to say this phrase, cats is out here wanting their women to treat them like 10s, but they actually 3s and 4s. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if we are not trying to maintain the health of our bodies, I call it keeping it sexy, right? What JT said, I'm bringing sexy back, right? A lot of cats is out here and they think they looking good, but they're actually physically unfit. They're not keeping a good flow in their hearts. Now let's go a little bit deeper. Not only is your cardiovascular health being affected, but you're also dealing with life stress. I'm talking about waking up, going to work. Not only are you going to work, but you're going outside and you're thinking about dealing with racial police, or you're thinking about dealing with racial white people, or if you're a white man, right? You're thinking about all the pressures of maintaining your house and your finances. I mean, there's a lot of stress pressure, right? Even on the job, there's a lot of stress pressure that if we're not maintaining what I call healthy exertion, we are inadvertently affecting our cardiovascular health. This is key. This is a key component to how we do inside of the bedroom. Now, let me give you a real life example. There was this one cat, he reached out to me and he was being honest. He was like, yo, A, you know what I'm saying? This guy is, I'm going to remove names to protect the innocent, but he was a younger man, a little bit over 35, but less than 40. And he was talking about how he can't keep his meat hard all the way through having sex with his lady. And I was like, dude, I just want to be honest with you. Go ahead and do something for me. So I put him through a test. And I said, I want you to get in the sex position, the missionary position, and hold your body up. I'm talking within 15 seconds, Duke's arms were trembling. He couldn't even hold his own body weight up. what happens is when you're putting additional stress on your body just to maintain the position, not only mentally is your mind going to go to you focusing on maintaining that position, but physically the blood flow is removing itself from your meat and it's going up into your shoulders, up into your triceps, trying to maintain your balance. So, I mean, physically, right, he wasn't even able to maintain himself. So let's focus on cardiovascular health. A lot of it has to do with our diet and making lifestyle changes. These are things that affect your heart. Your heart is the number one proponent, I like to use that word, in pumping blood throughout the body. And this also means pumping blood to your meat, right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is on diabetes. People, I don't care if you're black, you're white, you're young, you're old, diabetes affects the bodies in a number of different ways. But since this episode is just us talking about the meat, right? We talking about keeping your wood hard. Diabetes affects circulation. I want you to think of circulation. And I think about my grandmother and taking her to dialysis, and she was a double amputee. And the thought is, well, why does she have to be amputated? Because she had eventually lost circulation to her legs. Well, circulation, if you know about the wood, right? If you know about your meat, it's about blood flow. It's about getting circulation to your meat so that it will stay hard throughout, right? And there's a combination here. But when you've got diabetes, it will affect your ability to keep it hard because the circulation to your meat isn't enough to maintain a full erection. So diabetes, and I'm going to talk about this in my conclusion, how you can assist yourself, right, in maintaining good sexual health, even if you've got diabetes. And the last one is psychological. Now, I'm going to start, when we say psychological, I'm going to simplify it for those listening to the show today. And I'm going to talk about the way you think. So I'm going to start and I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to talk about psychological. I'm going to talk about diabetes, and I'm going to talk about cardiovascular health. Psychologically, there is nothing more demeaning to a man. Now, come on, if ladies is listening to this, you need to understand this. When your man is trying to perform and he gets semi-hard or he just goes straight limp on the meat, right? It's a psychological thing to us, especially if as we're getting older, this happens, it messes with us mentally. It almost messes with our ego. I mean, I've seen so many pot belly cats and they look at me, and when I look at them, there's a sense of sadness that I feel inside because I could understand the reason why he's looking at me or acting in a certain way. This dude is suffering from what I call meat deficit. He's got psychological issues going on because a large area of his manhood has been taken away. And that's that ability to feel viral, right? And they can just smell the virility all over me. They can look in my eyes and know I got that big D energy. They know it's a feeling, women. It's 60% of human communication is nonverbal. So man to man, I'm telling y'all, when you're walking around and you've got issues, psychological issues, because you can't keep your meat hard, other men, the virility of other men, we can sense that. So I'm going to help you understand how to get over the psychological part of when your meat ain't getting hard. All right. So here it goes. When you first encounter that and you sitting there, now you got to be truthful to yourself. A lot of guys ain't being truthful to themselves. It affects you mentally, but you have to break the pattern of thinking, damn, my meat ain't getting hard. My meat ain't getting hard, right? I can't keep my dick hard. Like you got to break the pattern of thought about not getting your meat hard. And this is how you do it. And I'm just going to be straight up. This is man to man. I hope, brothers, if you're listening to this episode, you reply back in your comments like, yo, Big A, you helped me understand this. This little thing that you told me really helped me break the psychological holdback of me not getting my meat hard. Now, here it is. Every opportunity you get, listen to this. I'm not talking about on the job, right? Because you don't want to get fired. But as you sitting there, every opportunity you get, if you're thinking something sexual, and your meat gets a little hard, I want you to go there. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about pounding the love joints. I'm talking about knocking the glute. You understand the glute, right? When you busting off this glute, glute, you busting quartz up in it. I want you to fully erect your meat as many times as you can throughout the day. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this is the body is a machine. You have to remind your body that you can get hard. You have to remind your body that you can think sexually, that you can be physically and sexually excited. I'm telling y'all this. If you remind your body that no, blood needs to flow here, when I start thinking about licking on that neck and squeezing on the breasts and cupping that ass, that my meat gets hard. You want to psychologically train yourself that when you start thinking sexually, your meat gets hard. And I'm telling you, when you get ready to get into action, when you can break the cycle of thinking it can't, and you start remembering, oh, yes, it can. I'm about to crack toes up in this. Psychologically, your body will respond and it will start bringing the blood flow and the things you need into your body. That way, your meat can get break hard again. All right? That's psychological factor number one. Psychological factor number two, and this is the biggest one. If you can remember this, and if you add this into your psychological training of keeping my meat hard, you're going to thank me in the end. It's called the first and the last. Think about this. What if, after all your knowledge of having sex, you realize that, hey, tomorrow, not only is this going to be the last time you ever had sex, but what if it was the first time you ever had sex? Now, follow me. If I go back to the first time I had sex with all the knowledge that I have now on how to tease things and how to take my time and lick on things and rub things and just take in the whole girth of what I'm about to get into, right? I think I would have been more involved in the sexual experience. I would have been more about taking my time, not just jumping up in it and just trying to pound the love Jones out. I would have took my time with it. Now let's go back to the last. What if this was the last time you was gonna have sex, right? Are there things you want to try? Or are there things you want to do? What if this was the last time you was gonna be able to bust? I'm talking about the glute, the glute, where your ass cheeks squeeze up tight and you crack your toes in it. What if this was the last time? How would you go about having sex? Now remember, sex is an open conversation. If your lady wants to be treated like a 10, but physically you're finding yourself unattracted to her, it's going to be hard for you to psychologically overcome and have the type of sex that you want to have with your lady. After a while, it's just a matter of getting one in, right? And that's not a fulfilling sexual environment. So psychologically, you and your lady got to have open conversations. You both have to be attracted to one another. There's going to be some things she don't want to try physically that you think is going to help you. But I need to tell you, brothers, if you work on getting that pot belly gut up out the way, well, you may get more brain than you normally would get because you're looking more sexy. There'll be a passion in your lady when she touches you because she's recognizing that physically she's attracted to you again. A lot of what's going on psychologically is people ain't physically attracted to each other no more. Let's just be truthful about it, right? Now, this goes into the medication side of it. So we're going to skip through the psychological. You'll understand that. Now we're going to talk about medications. A lot of medications that you take are messing with your body. It is affecting the blood flow. Blood pressure medication lowers your blood pressure. I've got a whole episode where I'm going to talk about physical health, but this is about the ED, keeping my wood hard, right, Big A? Certain medications you take are going to affect your blood flow. Now, these next two go hand in hand. I'm going to tell you, you need to have an open conversation with your doctor and you need to tell them, yo, this medication you got me on is messing with my meat. I'm not talking about spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Viagra. There are generic brands that work just as well. One star, I think it's called Cinefil, something like that. It starts with an S, and the other one starts with a T, Talafadil, or something like that. Your doctor will know. One is the generic Viagra, one is the generic Cialis. Both these medications, if you take them as prescribed, is going to help. It's it's going to help you maintain a full hard erection. You need to openly talk to your doctor about this, and they will come through for you. They will prescribe it for you, and you're going to see how it affects. Now, here's the next thing, and I need to be honest about this as well. You can't take these type of medications and just sit around. You can't take these type of medications and not get any physical exertion into your life. The two go hand in hand. So if you want to increase yourself psychologically, you want to start feeling viral again, right? If you want the medications that you're putting in your body to work as they're prescribed to work, I'm telling you, you need to be physically exerted throughout the week. You have to work out, brothers. I don't care if you're just doing push-ups until you can't do a push-up anymore. I don't care if you're doing a half-hour uh, Taibo exercise. I don't care if you're jumping on the treadmill and you're walking for a half an hour. The problem with a lot of the physical health, right, that's going on is due to inactivity. Cats ain't working out. They're not physically exerting. They eating, they sleeping, they waking up, they may be working, they thumbing on them video games. But as far as maintaining, as far as doing some sit-ups, some leg lifts, as far as dropping down, doing some push-ups, doing some curls, trying to maintain your body because you want to be treated like a 10, but physically you like a 3-4. Look at yourself. I need to mess with you. I need to mess with you. Look at yourself in that mirror. Lift your arms up, take your shirt off, and look at yourself. Now ask yourself, is my lady going to be attracted to this? If you honestly thinking to yourself, yeah, that's true, then I need to tell you, okay, you go ahead and go with that. But physically, you need to do some stuff that's going to help maintain you, that's going to help physically maintain you. And if you do these things, if you remember the psychological part of it, your meat gets hard, stay with it for a minute. Teach your body that, yes, when I start thinking about getting some, you talking to your meat now, right? Have a conversation with your meat, you get hard. When I think about myself, talking to my doctor, saying, yo, all these medications you got me on, whether it's depressants, whether it's blood pressure meds, it's affecting my ability to maintain an erection. I need to be prescribed the generic, right? Viagra, Cialis, and you go ahead and you take that, but you take it based off of what they say, right? The last part is your physicalness. Men, you need to exert. We are built, right? Hunter gatherer. I want you to think that. We are built to exert ourselves. You need to maintain and find a way to exert yourself physically. And if you do all these things and you remember all these things, I guarantee you, not only is your meat going to maintain and be brick hard, that psychologically, when you get ready to get busy with your lady, you're gonna remember the first and last. And you was about to pound the Love Jones oil about that. I'm talking on some straight cracking toes, ass clenching arms, twitching. You're gonna learn how to get busy. So this is Man to Man. There's a whole series that I'm gonna come out just talking man to man with us. And I hope that this episode really helps y'all and you will have good physical, sexual health. The Big A Talk Show.